Mayor Ed Grimes, I appreciate you being able to sit down and take time and just share what it has meant to you to be a part of this community your entire life. So first of all, thank you for that. How do you feel about growing up here in Tehachapi? What has that meant to you?
I always say that Tehachapi has given me everything I have, and I owe a lot back to the community. You know, it has formed my value system. It has made me a better person. It's made me the kind of person that I wanted my kids to be, my grandkids to be. And, you know, for that I'll be forever thankful.
And you grew up here as a little boy. You went to school here. You've raised your family. You've seen your grandkids flourish here. What is it, when you look at the generations of Grimes that have been here in Tehachapi, I know that means something to you.
It does. I never thought that my kids would come back and want to raise their kids here, but they did. And I was just overjoyed with that, because that way I got to see my grandkids. And you know, it's something that I take pride in.
And part of your legacy that's here in Tehachapi is you've been a member of our city council and as a mayor for many years. How many terms of mayor has it been for you? Is this your third?
This will be my third term.
This is your third term as mayor, and you've been on the council for how many years now?
It'll be 18 when I finish.
18 years. You've seen a lot of change and growth here in the city, and always been respectful of its citizens. Tell me a little bit about your time as a council member and the mayor of Tehachapi.
You know, I always felt that as mayor you had to be visible. Mm-hmm. I always felt that you need to be out there in the crowd. Not because it's something that you know, a pride thing or anything. It's just that you needed to be out there. People want to know who the mayor is. They want to know. That's the reason why I went private with my illness. I mean, not private, but public, because people want to know. I got over 300 hits. You know, wishing me well and giving prayers for me, and I knew I hit the nail on the head with that, because people want to know what's wrong with their mayor, and I wanted them to know.
With that, you understand the importance of the position of mayor in this little town, and the true connection that you're able to bond with the citizens just because you're out there and you know you represent the public.
Not only do you represent the public, but and I'm saying the public within the city limits, but I represent the community. You know, I've talked to several people, like in Stallion Springs, and I said, and I asked them, you know, I want you to know that I represent you. I may not be your mayor, but I represent you as mayor. And they tell me, you will always be our mayor. That's how they feel about it. And so, you know, to me, that's kind of bringing the community together.
Absolutely.
And that's what I want to do.
Absolutely. Now, tell us a little bit about some of the things that you've changed over your lifetime you've seen here in Tehachapi. I know I've sat down and had this conversation with you, and it's fascinating. You know, and I've read one of your books that you've written. You know, not only have you been the mayor, a council member, you've been the head coach of track, you've been the voice of the Warriors football.
School board.
The school board, and you're also an author. Quite accomplished. Mm-hmm. And most of that since you've been retired.
All of it.
Tell us a little bit about that. You had a life. You were in the military.
Yes.
You were a part of public safety for many years.
Yes.
And you retired, and you weren't done. You had so much more to give. Tell us a little bit. Once you retire, and then you decide, no, I'm not done yet. Ed Grimes has more to say and more to do.
Well, and that was part of my motivation. You know, I retired early. I was only 53 years old. But I knew that I had so much more to give. I knew that. And I knew that my giving was going to be positive. And so I had kids that had just got done with the sports, but I had grandkids getting involved. So I wanted to be involved with them. And I guess the culmination of all of it was this year, when I had a grandson who was a warrior. And boy, was he a warrior. Man, oh man, I had so much fun with that, so much pride, being the voice of the Warriors and hollering out his name because he made a tackle, or, you know, I'll never forget I think it was against Garces. He picked up a fumble and ran it back 63 yards. And I didn't know it was him. And they kept telling me in the press box, "That's your grandson, that's your grandson. Announce his name." I said, "Are you sure?" "Yeah, I'm sure." So I finally picked it up, and about 10 yards from him scoring. And, you know, I had to laugh about it because I was so involved in the game, you know, and I should have caught it, but I didn't. But, you know, those are the fun things that you learn about and talk about for the rest of your life.
Absolutely. Tell us a little bit about being the voice of the Warriors. How long the voice of the Warriors?
About 20 years.
20 years.
I got my training from Jim Grecian, and he knew I was going to take his place. He had emphysema, and I knew that it wasn't going to be long, because he couldn't talk. And they called him Gentleman Jim, one of the nicest men you'll ever meet. And he told me, "Ed, I know you're going to take over for me." He said, "But I want to give you one important bit of advice." I said, "Okay." He says, "After you make the announcement, turn off the mic." He said, "Because what's said in the press box stays in the press box. It doesn't need to be broadcast out aloud." And I never forgot that. Never forgot that.
You've got to be a part of a lot of championship football seasons.
Oh boy. Yes, sir.
Any special moment? I know, talking about your grandson and what a highlight it was this year. Anything else that really kind of sticks out that you go, boy, I was really lucky to be up here calling this?
You know, we've had so many championship games. It's hard to pick out one. I just look at it as a privilege and an honor to work with Steve Denman, who was all of my boys that, you know, he coached. Boy, how lucky do I get. And then he coached my grandsons. How lucky can I get? And I just look at that as God doing me a favor. Because he is such a gentleman.
And you were there for many of his 300 wins.
I was there for all of them. Yeah.
That's quite an accomplishment, to be a part of the football program and to see what's gone on in the history here of our high school athletics.
Well, you know what's really funny is I was a very young school board member, and they brought the employment of the head football coach to the school board, and I was on the school board. And I'll never forget about one of the old school board members said, "Well, he's too young. What does he know? He's only 23. And I said, "How young do you have to be?" And he thought about it a minute, and, well, maybe you're right. And I said, I vote to hire him. So we all voted to hire him. So I was there when he was hired. And I never let him forget it.
And you said all your boys played for Coach. And tell us a little bit about your family and your kids, and because they all grew up here in Tehachapi. You raised them here in Tehachapi.
They all grew up here in Tehachapi. None of them could wait to get out. They wanted to see what was on the other side of the mountain. So they went away to school, and I thought, I've lost them. You know, I'll have to go Timbuktu to see them or whatever. And
oh, hello, how are you? Good, how you doing? Good.
You want to talk to Shelly on that?
Oh, okay.
Good to see
I'm
you.
Ryan.
Key.
Hi.
Messed up our interview. Go ahead.
So, tell me, your kids went off to college.
They went off to college, and then got married.
He's good.
And you know, they tried surviving out there. Then they started having kids, and that's when they decided, we don't want to raise our kids out here in the jungle. We want to come back to peace and quiet. We want to come back to where our value system is. And that's the reason why they came back. And I was so happy. So happy. I didn't, in fact, when Mike heard about the job opening, it was a brand new job, network manager for the school district. He was in Colorado, had a good paying job. And he called me, he says, how come you didn't tell me about that? I said, son, I'm on the school board. I don't want to have any conflict of interest. So I didn't call you. I said, how did you find out though? Well, some of the other school teachers called me. You know, I said, oh, okay.
That says a lot about your integrity and how you hold yourself accountable, and also with your approachability. But for you, your name means something. I know that in talking to you, and you take pride in the level of integrity that you conduct yourself with. Tell me a little bit about what integrity means to you.
If you don't have integrity, you don't have anything. Because my word, my value system, everything that goes along with integrity, that's it. And if you don't have that, you know, you're going to have superficial friends. People are going to take your word to mean nothing. And I can't accept that. I cannot accept that. I am what I am. If you don't like what I am, I feel sorry for you, but I'm not going to harbor any ill will. So integrity, though, is probably the backbone of what I am.
When you have that commitment to integrity, and you bring it to city council and you bring it into politics, I know it's got to be tough, but because you represent the 10,000 people that live within the city limits. I know it's an important factor about being a council member, is that level of integrity you bring with you.
It is. I remember voting on a very important issue years and years ago with a different city manager, and I voted, and the superintendent just about was floored. And he came to me afterwards. He said, I thought you were going to vote the other way. I said, that's the reason why I didn't talk to you. I said, I voted with my heart. I voted because I felt what I was doing was right. And I didn't want anybody talking me out of it. And he said, well, you sure fooled me. I said, are we still friends? He said, yeah. I said, because, you know, whether we're going to be friends or not, this is the way it goes. And I think he really appreciated me even more after that, you know. So I think he was almost taking me for granted there for a while, and I didn't want that to happen.
Yeah. Now I know another important part of your life has been coaching track and field.
Yeah.
And these kids.
Yes, sir. My son and I, my youngest son, and I became track coaches for the Tehachapi High School. I think it was 2012. We went all the way to the CIF Division II Central California State Championship. All the way. It came down to the very last race. If we won it.
Tell me about this one. The season was coming to an end.
The season was coming to an end. We went to the CIF Division II State Championship. If we won the last race, and we knew that, if we won the last race, we won the state championship. If we didn't, we went home with our heads bowed. I didn't want to go home. I had too much pride. I'd worked too hard with these kids. And it was the 400. Now that's a tough race. Mm-hmm. That is a tough race. And I'm telling you, we smoked them. Those kids were so good. So good. And we smoked them. And we won the championship. The Division II Central California State Championship. Little Tehachapi. You know? How did we do that?
Heart.
But we pushed them and pushed them and pushed them and you know, with love. And every one of those kids loves us. Even though we worked them hard. And then you know, I got out of the high school and went to the junior high. Last year, I had 2 kids that were state champions. One an 8th grader who ran the half mile, the legit half mile, in 2:13, 8th grade. One a 7th grader who ran the half mile in 2:14. State champions. And I worked them hard too. And I had one of them come up to me and he said, Coach, and I'd love to be called Coach. And he said, Coach? I said, yeah. He said, can you work us harder? I said, son, it already borders on child abuse. So, you know, that's just something I've always enjoyed, coaching. I was involved with Little League and you know, for, gosh, over 20 years. So.
Well, tell me a little bit about the patience that Ruthie has with your involvement around the community. Because I know that, like me, I'll run into someone at the store and I'm talking for 5 or 10 minutes and my wife says, oh, we're going to take separate cars.
Yeah.
And I know that I've run into you in the grocery store several times, and it's not just me that you see and get a chance to chat with.
You know, that's the reason why I go to the store alone.
Yeah.
Because when I come back, she'll say, okay, who'd you see? You know, I go there for 1 or 2 items, and it's supposed to be back home in 10 minutes. And I'm back home in an hour. But, you know, that's me. That's I like to talk. I like to talk to people. And I find out a lot of things about the community, what's going on that way. And in fact, I had one little old lady come up to me and she says, are you Mr. Grimes? And I looked at her and I said, well, it depends. And she said, no, it's nothing bad. She said, I just want to commend you on what's going on in the city. I said, well, I really appreciate that, because we don't get that a lot.
Tell me a little bit about your grandkids here. As I know, we've had conversations about a couple of your grandkids in the last few years, but I know how much pride you take in them and being a part of this community.
I do. You know, I've got little ones, and one of them was won a speech thing contest, and I was so proud because they're not going to be athletes. I know they aren't, but they're going to be so involved in other things, you know, speech, the arts. You know, and I'm happy for that, because not everybody can be in sports. And you know, the other kids, the older kids have been involved in sports. In fact, I got a granddaughter right now that is on a scholarship to Goshen University in Indiana for softball. I got a grandson that just graduated from Master's College this past week. I didn't get to go, but he just graduated. And he was there on a baseball scholarship. I got a grandson at Weber State. I got a granddaughter at the Nazarene school over by San Diego. So all of my kids, all of my grandkids are going to be going to college. I know that. And you know, I'm happy for that. Let me tell you why, because if you notice in my book, from chicken coop to mayor, there was a reason for that. Because my brother and I, that's where we lived, in a chicken coop. And we brought ourselves up out of that. And we became who we are. It took a lot of hard work, but I wasn't willing to give up. And you know, we both are very successful, but it's because of the hard work that we put in. Tehachapi helped me in that endeavor. So, you know, I'm so very proud that my grandkids are seeing a different life than I did. So, my children saw a different life than I did. And you know, I want that to continue. All of my kids are college graduates, 2 of them with masters. All of their spouses are college graduates. And you know, that trend is going to continue. It's going to continue. And it all started from a chicken coop. So,
I enjoyed that book. I got a chance to, I read it when it came out, and it really opened my eyes to a lot of things that you've seen and experienced here in Tehachapi. And then I really recognized the fact that you've seen the change in Tehachapi. But we really have a solid core base that's, there's some of that solid foundation that still exists, you know, that did all those years ago. You know, you've seen that growth.
And you know what, some of the growth I haven't liked, but you know, you go on. You go on and you try to make it better. And I think that was one of my motivations when I retired, is that I wanted to get involved in community kinds of activities, whether it be politics or whatever. And I really wanted to see if I could make a positive contribution. And hopefully I have. Hopefully I have. You know, I look back on in the late 40s, early 50s, when I was growing up here as a young boy, and some of the shenanigans that I went through, and some of the things I did that I got in trouble for, but I was a typical little boy. And man, I didn't know I was going to be where I am in those days, but I sure had a lot of fun.
What does it mean to you growing up living in Tehachapi?
It means the world to me. Like I said, it shaped my value system. It really did. There's so many good people here. You know, we talk sometimes about those that want to be mean and all that, but there's so many good people. And you know, I love them all. I love them all. And I've gotten in arguments with them. You know, but you know, an argument is an argument. And I look at that as a good thing, because you get to see another aspect of how people feel. And you know what? I think I've won the argument, but in reality, I didn't, because I end up thinking like they do in terms of what we were arguing about, because I saw the light.
Yeah.
Now, isn't that something?
Let me add a couple more questions. Who is Ed Grimes?
Ed Grimes is a good person. Ed Grimes is the kind of person that he wants to be better. Ed Grimes is a person who wants to make people feel good. I love my wife. I love my children. I love my church. And I want to do everything to make those things better.
And I know, as I was setting up today, and you're helping the church here today, it doesn't stop for you. Your involvement in the community and your investment in the community is probably better said.
Yeah.
And that involves your church as well.
Yeah, and I'm going to go out next week on an inspection tour of different parking lots and everything. And I can't hardly walk, but I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
And it's because I don't know how much time I've got. I really don't. I know it's not a lot. But the time I have remaining, why do I want to sit here and drool and you know, just waste away? I can be productive. I can be productive, you know, until almost the very end. And when I do go, I want a big smile on my face. I really do. And one of the things that I've talked about is when I'm laying there at rest, I want to have a Warrior shirt on with a football and a microphone in the other hand. That's the way I want to go out.
The voice of the
Why not?
Warriors.
The voice of the Warriors.
That's it.
Yep.
Ed, tell me, what have I not asked you that you would like the public to know, that I haven't asked you that question, but you think that you'd like to share?
Okay. I haven't been a saint all my life. I've made a lot of mistakes, you know, and I want to share that with people that in spite of the mistakes that you make, you can turn around, and I have. But there's a lot of things I've done that have been wrong, and you know, I don't want to share exactly what those things were. Just be assured that I was not a saint. But I was smart enough to see that and told myself, you know what, you better get your booty in gear, because this life doesn't last forever. And you know, I think me and my brother both came to that conclusion at about the same time. And he's got a wonderful family, and you know, he was there for me at the hospital, and I love him dearly. The only brother I got. We fought like cats and dogs, but don't talk bad about him in front of me, because I'll be on you.
You know, that brings to thought, you know, the things that you and Ruthie have done in being an author. The money that you made from your books, you turn around and put that right back out there into the community. Uh-huh. You've created a scholarship fund. Uh-huh. Tell us a little bit about that.
It's always been in my heart to to try to help kids go to school. I remember when I got finished with school, I didn't go to school because I had absolutely zero money. Zero money, and I knew that I was going to get, you know, kicked out of the house. Because I was 18, I was a foster kid, and they weren't going to be making any money off of me anymore. So I knew I was gone. But I didn't want to go to college because I didn't have any money. So I went into the Army. And but getting back to the original question, the motivation for my wife and I was to help these kids at least buy books. You know, I didn't have enough money to go through, send them through school, but at least to buy books. And I think we've helped. You know, we've given over $40,000 over the years, and that's come out of my pocket and from the sale of my book.
Well, thank you. Thank you for what you've done for our community, and I just appreciate the time that you've spent. And it's just been a joy to get a chance to talk to you again in detail about, you know, the things that you've done here for the community. So thank you.
I appreciate that very much, and I'll continue to do what I can do until the very end.
Anything else you want to add, Ed?
No.
I feel really good. I think it's going to turn out really nice. You know, it's something that I've been wanting to do, so I'm happy that we got a chance to sit down and do it.
Yeah, and that's the reason why I didn't know how I feel a month from now.
Right. But I know we've had these, this is a collection of all the conversations we've had over the last few years, you know, and these stories that you've got a chance to share. And I've just been wanting to document them, and I'm just so doggone glad we got a chance to do that. Mayor Ed Brime's last public appearance representing the city of Tehachapi was 3 days after this interview at Coffee with the Mayor on May 17th. Several Tehachapi High School students attended, and after he met each student and shook their hands, he turned to me and said, "I love talking to the youth of our community."